all. My name is Craig Watson, and welcome to Flexing Up, the podcast that focuses on contingent and on-demand workforce management, brought to you by Oncore. We're kicking off today's episode with an absolute bloody beauty. We've all heard before about AI, and we're probably even using generative AI in some way today. And we have not one today, but two experts here to help us. Welcome, Marty and Adrian from Evolved.AI. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us, Craig.
No worries. We're going to really delve underneath the hood today of AI, and we're going to try to bring it back to what it means for the contingent workforce. But before we do that, Marty, why don't you tell us a little bit about Evolved AI and what you're doing right now in the AI space?
Yeah, thanks, and great to be here. Evolved AI builds generative AI solutions for businesses. And so we roll out a whole range of sophisticated technologies that really take modern business problems and deploy AI specifically, and in most cases, large language models into business process and solutions. And we've got a range of technology that we've successfully rolled out to some great companies, especially in Australia, that are changing the way they do business.
Yeah, I think that from a lot of people's perspective, because let's be honest, it was probably maybe October, November 2022 where everyone, or the common man for the first time really thought, hang on, what actually, I've heard the word AI or artificial intelligence or the term, but hang on, now it's starting to come into our everyday and all those sorts of things. And, over the last year, it's been like a revolution. It's been sort of like when the internet hit us or mobile phones or, so it's, and some people look at it and go, it scares me. And some people are saying, I'm embracing it. And some people are in the middle saying, I don't know what the hell I should do. So today we're really going to try to unpack it for dumb people like me and really get to understand how it can make our day-to-day in our roles better. But maybe to start off with AI specifically, or generative AI and machine learning, how are you seeing companies starting to use the technology where it wasn't used before? And I don't know, Adrian, do you want to kick us off with that?
I think to follow your point about those different schools of thought, like people embracing the tech, people being scared of it, people waiting and seeing, I think there's a growing sentiment that there was this huge promise with generative AI. There was a big buzz. And then people are playing and some people are embracing the tools, but I think widely companies are not sure what to do. They're struggling to find creative use cases. They're struggling to get adoption. They're setting up little task forces to like working project groups and trying to dabble. They're having conversations about AI strategy, but they're not really sure where to go. And part of that is the opportunities are growing and growing and growing as this technology emerges so fast. So I think there's a lot of sitting on hands, waiting and seeing what other companies are doing. But what we definitely saw across SaaS in particular, which obviously are going to be the first to embrace, there was a bit of a one and done approach. That everyone needed to have an AI landing page of their product. So all your Canvas and Trellos and all of the big players had to have some kind of magic AI button that did some Gen AI, text generation. And that's kind of like, that was our first taste of it. And then we started seeing more advanced features like data analysis and things like that. But that's kind of where it stopped for a lot of these SaaS solutions and a lot of businesses generally. There's a bit of a one and done. There's a bit of a, we need to seem to be doing something. We've had some clients, for example, in the AI industry, not Gen AI, being asked by investors what their strategy was with Gen AI. And the answer is, well, it's not, because we have like already sophisticated AI stuff that we're doing. But really what I think the key has been for the last year and probably for the next 6 months or so is about enhancing efficiency, building those productivity gains that AI was supposed to promise. And it's about finding the right tool set, getting the right adoption programs in place to like actually embed it. It's finding the right use cases to target and, change the culture to actually make it okay, not like it's cheating. Don't have that culture like, oh, that looks like you just wrote that in ChatGPT. Well, damn straight, because it should be, because why are we not using ChatGPT for some of these mundane tasks? There's obviously things we can do with training to be like, okay, ChatGPT gets me 80% of the way. And actually, if I'm clever, it can get me the rest of the 20% of the way. But it's fine for it to be a tool that just helps you draft that job description that needs to be, tweaked for another 10 minutes, but that's still huge gains. And I think that's where we're kind of at. That's where we're at. We're at that stage where we've got to bring those people that are a little skeptical or dubious about some of these capabilities and bring them with the top performers that are embracing the AI.
You made mention there of something that I found really interesting and possibly the first rung on the ladder. You mentioned the word mundane, right? So your mundane task, your repetitive task, your heavily admin focused tasks, or tasks that can be automated, right? That's the first step. And people, God, everyone should be embracing that because it'd be making everyone's job easier. And then there's that next step and the next layer and the onion layers that keep going on top of that and on top of that, which really, when you look under it, it's some of the things that generative, or not only generative AI, machine learning across the board, all this new technology that's coming out that can enhance not only workplaces, but individuals within workplaces and make them better at what they do rather than fear it, is something that's often overlooked. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Like I just last night was just working on a video for some marketing collateral, and I made a joke with my colleague that I wish this was here 10 years ago when it was a core part of what I did. I used to do a lot of video editing. It's so easy now. I can add AI enhanced effects. I can create AI imagery without using stock images. Like there are some serious features that, especially in the creative space, that make me worried for some industries like stock imagery, stock videography, even video editing itself. But really, that makes me look really good. I produced a really good video, but without doing a whole bunch of creative design stuff that I wasn't capable of doing. I would have paid 5,000 an agency to do.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And I think that, Marty, look, if you looked at AI across the board, we know that there are going to be some industries, like you said, Adrian, that are going to use AI more, and the people function in it will reduce, right? We know that, but that's happened throughout history. Like you look first at, I don't know, the Industrial Revolution in the Victorian age, and even then when the computer revolution came, I'm an old man. When I was in the
Not that old.
early doors, like the typing pools were something that you just had 100 secretaries sitting in a room typing all of the communications within a company. That's disappeared. That wasn't, specifically AI, but the next generation of what we're doing now, there will be some roles. And, like you said, perhaps some of the stock photography, because we know that we can create imagery now from machine learning, things like even content writing to an extent, those sorts of things, they are going to suffer. Well, let's make no bones about it. But there are other roles and other industries where not only will it enhance what you do, but open up more opportunity. So I guess my question is, I'm talking a lot now. My question is, what sort of skills do you think that people are going to need to be able to use AI in their day-to-day job better?
Great question. First I'd say, I could never have been more excited about work and where work is going and where work is progressing. And from my own personal experience, doing my job every day, and as an entrepreneur and founder, I have this incredible variety of things I have to touch on every day, from HR to finance to, metrics analysis to advertising to, all sorts of stuff. And my job is significantly easier and far more exciting every day. And I get to learn and experiment and do and execute at probably realistically 3 to 5 times faster than I did before. And that's increasing. But have I replaced the job? Have I not hired someone? And as a company, we have 100 plus people, but we haven't let anybody go. We haven't replaced anybody. Now, partly that's a balance of the kinds of skills that we have. It's partly our deep embracing of AI and the way that we highly encourage that to become a partner in the way we work, on an ongoing basis. I think that we view it as augmentation, not replacement.
Yep.
And in everything we do, I think that if we accelerate that augmentation, what gets replaced in terms of jobs is more about who we don't hire. That would be more and certainly we're probably not hiring interns. I once described a good way to think about AI is basically everybody gets 1,000 interns. Right? They're actually not very skilled. They're not very experienced. They kind of run what they go with the education they got, which is it's very deep but quite limited. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of skill in getting an AI tool and figuring out how do I use this 1,000 interns, right? Incredibly powerful, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to go do research or you want to do automation, or you can do incredibly well. I think in terms of how that goes from a societal basis, that's a very big question. Like, how is society going to evolve? Certainly we've seen, I think, the famous examples you talk about, all the way down to blacksmiths and horseshoes and piano tuners and, all those things. And all those are great economic models to consider what happens. And I think it's inherent to growth. Fundamentally, capitalistic growth is based on new technology. And new technology comes along and it provides opportunities to increase productivity. I think that the issue is always speed. How fast does this happen? And I'd like a little bit of reassurance that, in the cases where we're rolling out significant AI deployments to some very large companies in Australia, we're doing so at a speed that's often not really replacing roles. It's very much augmentation. It's very much about executing faster and cheaper. I think that I'd probably dampen a little bit about what that looks like. There's this kind of leap that people make, which is, well, I've got an LLM, a chat GPT, and I can engage in that conversation, right? What's actually happening under the hood is nothing like what you see. It's an incredibly clever parlor trick, right? And I don't want to downplay how capable it is and how amazing it is. But, and as an example, GPT-3 was released, and as a tech nerd, we were all playing with that. And GPT-3 let you put in some text and summarize it. That's great. And then it was a revolutionary piece of technology. We all loved it. But ChatGPT came along, and ChatGPT changed everything, because I could put in some text and I could, and it could say, well, here's an economic, article from a newspaper, and, tell me the gist of this and what's the point they're trying to make. And then you can have a conversation. You can start saying, well, what do you think about that in terms of impact on other countries? And it starts to roll out stuff. And so it was the interactivity that made it, very, very different. But there is a big leap between that and AGI. And I think that leap is far larger than people think. It is 100 times the tech to get to that stage. And so we have
what's AGI, just for someone like me?
It's general intelligence. That's where we go from an AI that is built on, trained on a certain set of data with a limited set of actions, which is what we deal with now. Yep. And anybody who's used generative AI extensively will find that limit very quickly. You can have a conversation, it just starts forgetting. It has no idea. It makes stuff up. It's like
my great uncle.
Whereas a general intelligence has what you might think of as infinite memory, and it can learn as it goes. It can expand its own capabilities as it goes. And so that's a much larger, greater capability. We are a long way from AGI still.
Still a bit science fiction.
Absolutely science fiction right now.
Hey, bringing it back to...
Ask me again in 7 years.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say 7 months.
Yeah, right.
Bring it back to the contingent workforce, right, which is the people we're talking to today. So these are people who are often project-based, definitely contract-based. I think, and a lot of people that would listen here would be in that tech space too. So obviously there's skills with the generative AI that they need to enhance, and also they can use it to help them get better at what they do now. Would you say that because a lot of the work they do is project-based, with the implementation of AI programs and opportunities within some organizations, there may be more opportunity if they had the requisite skills to be able to pick up within these projects? Because a lot of large companies, even mid-sized companies, are really leaning into AI, aren't they?
I think this is one of the big differences that skills pick up is a huge impact. And so you might, let's say you're a contract software engineer, you might see a company have a case where they want to port from, one platform to another. And they make a decision that their internal engineers using AI don't need to hire an expert in that field.
Right.
Because they feel like they can learn it, they can use AI to do that. But the upside is what happens, and we've seen almost, probably I'd say 90%, we've seen that company then say, well, let's port to 3 or 4 platforms. Let's not just stop with one. Let's do all of them. And so what they do is call upon contractors to go step in and do that. And it's the contractor who then has far more varied skills, because they can use AI to enhance how fast they go and enhance their learning. So, a very tangible example would be, and we've had this experience with a contractor ourselves, we're just porting an app to Flutter. And he didn't really know Flutter that well, but he said, I'm going to take it on and I'm going to use AI to help me. And we were okay with that. We were like, that makes sense. And he won the contract based on being AI enhanced. And I think this is a very important thing for people to take away.
Yeah.
Embrace it as hard and as fast as you can, and use it wherever you can to make, and be open about that. I'm faster because of AI. I use AI regularly. I'm very good at it. And I found that, we tend to be hiring, in terms of contingent workforces, we're hiring the people who are embracing AI and are demonstrating how capable they are with it.
Interesting, because just from a recruitment perspective, or a job ads perspective, I was at a function last week where they were reporting on global trends in job ads. And one of the things they said is, similar to coming out of the back of COVID, the most searched term on job ads, or the most used term, was, working from home, or WFH. Over the last 6 to 12 months, they've seen a massive uptick in the number of times the term AI is being listed in job ads. So that's really interesting. So it's becoming definitely in part into the employment market as either a skill that's required, or a benefit that a company say that they're leaning into. So that's really interesting. And I guess my question on top of that is, apart from what you guys are doing, let's say AI consultants, are there other specific roles that are new off the back of AI?
Yeah, totally. Like just the other day we were reflecting on this. So there's a new role which has been created. It was kind of incepted from the very start of ChatGPT's release. There was this idea that we would need to be really good at crafting and manipulating language models, and it was very early in that phase coined prompt engineering, prompt management. And so the prompt is just the set of words that you inject into the model, the instructions, if you will. And so there are actually roles that are engineering focused, because this is about implementation, not just the words, called prompt engineers. And they are paying for full-time roles over 200,000 a year. They're fully fledged good roles. But interestingly, no one's got more than a year, unless they were, really deep in LLMs already before ChatGPT. No one's got more than a year experience, right? We're all just working this out.
It's like when cybersecurity really started taking off, when it went from nothing, non-existent, to large. And sometimes you'd see job ads say minimum 5 years experience, and the whole thing had only been around about 2.5 years. So it's interesting how quick the market moves, but yet how much businesses still crave experience in something where no one's got experience.
But this is one of the really key points, right? That the experience, the ideation, the executive function about what kind of things should we do, what is the standard we should be reaching for, what are the opportunities we have around that. All those higher level executive functioning skills are the ones that matter. Whereas you don't get bogged down in a lot of the mediocre execution around those tasks. And so your ability to evaluate those things and strategically plan them and manage the execution of those and lead it becomes a much greater portion of what you do every day. And I think that applies to just about any job. Even a software engineer or someone doing admin or finance is there thinking, well, I've loaded my spreadsheet into a model, and now I can have a conversation about the finances and about what we learn about that. And so it's a different kind of work. I think it's those skills are ever more important.
Yeah.
Like I just add, the AI industry was, previously restricted to those who are really savvy data science kind of people. But with large language models, it's actually exposing a whole new skill set. Like engineers aren't necessarily good prompt engineers because, like maybe an English major is. Or like myself, I'm from a psychology background, which is both analytical and requires strong communication skills and written skills. Happens to be really handy with LLMs. So the ability to apply like a broad range of skills, not just being the computer science nerd, is going to be important for the whole AI industry now. And not just the roles, but your champions of AI technology in your businesses. You're going to need people like you always have. Like you want to roll out Microsoft Teams to your workforce, you're going to have some Teams champions that kind of know where all the buttons are and know how to like teach people. You're going to need the same thing with ChatGPT, LLMs, custom LLM solutions, all of that. You're going to need those people that are living and breathing it on the ground.
Can I point out an example here, which is you've got a technologist, me. I'm a software guy, I'm a CTO. But on the other side is someone with a doctorate in psychology.
Yeah.
Who knows how to control AI and tell it what to do. I honestly struggle sometimes.
Yeah, that's really a really interesting point to me that, the amount of opportunity this will open up for people with specific skill sets outside of the technology themselves, but bring it in to enhance it and make it even better. Hey, I wanted to talk really quickly because when we're bringing it back to Contingent again, within Contingent, a lot depends on businesses hiring the right people quickly, right, to get into those roles. It's a little bit more fast paced than your traditional permanent recruitment. You need someone with requisite skills. You need them now. You need them for a period of time. Are you aware of any of the tools available out there in the AI space that would enhance this? Are there things there that help with sourcing candidates? Are there things there that help with running through the process quickly?
Yeah, I think a lot of the traditional recruitment tools already had like a good handle on this. They're using metadata and skills searches and things like that. We're able to like perform pretty well. But like I think now there's an emergence and there's this like adoption for LLM features, such as creating a job description quickly.
Yeah.
At a click of a button, select the role. We can fire that up in 5 seconds, not 20 minutes or an hour or however long that took. If we want to if we want to like convey our company tone of voice, we can provide brand guidelines and inject that as the context, or we can include a really good example of the job description. And we can do this in seconds. Like if we've got those files there, we throw it at the model, we can get outstanding outputs. That'll probably get us 95% of there, and we tweak it, and then that's that. We've also got, I think, a big difference with that traditional just skills search using AI, and now being able to assess things more at a semantic level. we can actually ask an LLM for an evaluation based on a job description. Or I've tested some things out where you will create a scoring criteria for CVs based on a job description, take that criteria, go and rate 50 CVs, allow a conversation, craft a invitation email, then for those candidates that are going to be in the interview, craft interview questions, and then use live transcript data to actually tweak those interview questions, because the LLM has got an opinion about, oh, we should flesh more of this out, or there's some red flags here, we really need to test the capability here. And that flow is a tool that maybe was to an extent accessible and is already accessible in some products to people like talent managers and HR managers. But for hiring managers to also have these tools, for a hiring manager who has no competence or is, doing their first job interview, giving them the tool set to be able to quickly do this, quickly assess CVs, quickly get to the point of interview without spending an hour before that interview reading CVs and stuff. I think
this is a very
it's here.
A very current subject for us, because we happen to be actually rolling out an HR recruitment AI solution, enhancing that process. And so I just add a couple of things from Adrian's good coverage there. One is that is an interesting role flip in some cases, that AI actually can be a fair judge, where it can review decisions that were made. It can look at CVs, it can look at job descriptions, it can review conversations for 1,000 applicants, and it can tell you where there's been bias, or tell you where they felt like there wasn't a good decision relative to other candidates. So I think it's very powerful. It's very interesting to me. I never quite thought of a computer being, I thought it was always the one that was going to be biased. And it was interesting that in many cases it was a better judge. And in part, that brings up kind of that use case where it's not necessarily that you only use AI to score every CV and then isolate people that you didn't write the right thing on the CV. It's not necessarily doing that. It can be a great place to start. It can be a great way to gather information that augments a human decision. It can be a great way to provide an arbitrary and a score alongside their decision, so they can look at that, and it can do great work in managing the process so that humans can make a better decision about hiring someone. So I think that's where we've seen some really interesting stuff. The other one is skills assessment. Extremely good at having a conversation with someone and really actually testing real skills, especially in regard to something like software engineering, where a lot of great success in being able to fairly assess someone's actual skills in a particular engineering challenge, not necessarily coding, by the way, and produce a great result at a much higher scale, which broadens the opportunities for more people.
I think you make a really, really, really strong point there, in that one of the knocks on recruitment processes throughout the ages was the unconscious bias, right? And as humans, everybody is afflicted with that to a certain extent, because we all have our innate biases that we can't move from. So to be able to mitigate that and nullify bias in a process to a large extent can only benefit candidates and businesses to making sure the right person is getting through the process. And then when you layer that with the skills to be able to test them properly, and also then layer on top of that again, even if you're in an interview, and I've seen some tools out there at the moment where the live tracking of what's been said and responses, and then that stimulates the possible next question based on a response, and that can be all live in interview. And also, not only that, interview notes are recorded verbatim as opposed to recorded with someone writing down what they think they heard or with their own bullet points. So it's there are so many different ways that AI can support the recruiting function. And again, given the contingent market, which is very fast moving, you want that mundane, repetitive ability to automate tasks done for you. You want, if there's 500 CVs that come in, you want them to be able to be ranked in some sort of way or get to the person when you need the human touch in an order with a lot of boxes ticked without having to, when you haven't got that time. We all know that, there's a stat that recruiters say that they spend on average 7 to 8 seconds reviewing a resume. And what can you review in that? You're really looking for a couple of keywords. You're not giving it justice. And then there's also the fact that once they've got enough through part one of the funnel, anything that comes a little bit later than that just doesn't make the grade. It doesn't even get looked at. At least if you're putting the layer of AI on it, everything gets looked at, everything gets ranked, and everything comes through in a certain way. So I can only see the benefits for it.
Yeah, it's a good example. I remember hearing that quite a lot when I was in and around HR departments. Like, how do you help someone that just doesn't quite match the right keywords? That's ultimately what the industry has been built on, is like having the right keywords. And even when you go on LinkedIn, you'll have some roles that like apparently match you because like 11 of your 15 keywords match that role or something. Right. But like with an LLM, we're talking like a semantic understanding. And actually it doesn't have to just be screen it, give me 10 and we're done. It could be, I looked at the top 3 that you suggested, and I actually am looking for this specific thing. Like it's specifically like there's a bit of like culture like that I'm looking for here that I'm not getting in these other, like, so let's go back to the drawing board and retrieve another CV. We're actually like working on some similar solutions for like different industries, but like this idea of like being at the cockpit and being able to like tell your 1,000 interns who can instantly and very confidently, sometimes too confidently, tell you like what you need to know. Like you're going to find various ways to tackle this CV problem, for example, like very differently, because you have like different ways of thinking. That's going to be the key to adopting and using AI, is like creatively like weaving around your existing workflows in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just in terms of tools, which kind of comes back to your question, there's a bunch of really good HR AI tools emerging, like Glider and Infido, Talmundo, good for CV scoring and evaluation. I think, to be honest, the basic LLM interaction tools like ChatGPT, we've got some involvement in a fantastic product called Cakewalk.AI, which is a kind of like a enhanced workflow version of ChatGPT. I think those are the core tools that most people are using to get the most results quickly.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Hey guys, we're nearly at the end of our time today. It's gone bloody flown. But before we finish off, we just want to sort of like try to summarize some of the points. And if we're looking, obviously from a contingent perspective, we're looking how AI can enhance and help or be a force for good within the contingent space. We're talking, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about making sure that from a candidate perspective, you have the requisite skills. You're immersing yourself in an AI environment and making sure that you understand how you can probably minimize those mundane, things that you need to do, those repetitive things by using AI. And from a business perspective, maybe saying, okay, how can we streamline what we're doing? How can we make sure that as part of our process for projects that we're including AI and generative AI and machine learning to make sure that we're doing the best for our business? Because at the same time, if you're not embracing AI as either a contractor stroke candidate or a business, your competitors probably are, right? So you're going to be further and further behind the 8 ball in terms of your competitiveness in your particular area.
For many cases, it's mandatory, and it's right now. And it's very accessible, it's very cheap, it's very available, it's easy to learn. There's a lot of great tools to support it. Within the next, I'd be very sure that in the next 12 months, if you are not embracing AI tools, you're not going to be competitive.
And you probably won't be able to get a job in a lot of areas. You need to have access, or you need to have knowledge.
It'll become a mandatory skill.
Yeah. Okay. So Adrian, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think the common question with AI and workforce discussions is whether or not it's going to disrupt the industry, if it's going to displace roles. And like, I think we can be pretty pragmatic about that question. Let's look at what already has happened for years. We've seen offshoring of customer service teams. We're now seeing those offshore customer service teams being replaced with customer chatbots. And, you know, companies already boasting significant success with those. So it's, yeah, and like automations and workflows, and there's various things that like aim to reduce heads, and that is always going to be a significant threat to the contingent workforce. There's no doubt, but that just means that there's also tools that are going to help the contingent workforce as well. They get access to tools that can help them quickly onboard, help them quickly understand a code base, help them quickly get a grasp on culture, and have an AI agent at their disposal to like help them navigate and you know, quickly demonstrate their value. That's the opportunity. But yeah, there is that like kind of gloomy shadow that we just have to be cognizant of as well.
You know, I have a friend who's a director. He directs commercials for Australian TV, and he kind of called me in a panic after seeing Sora get released. There was an AI model recently released from OpenAI where it's generating quite astonishing quality 4K video, especially of puppies in snow. Very good at puppies in snow. And he kind of called me in a panic, going like, "You're an AI god. What's going on? Like, I'm going to lose my job. You know, I'm a freelancer." And, you know, and he produces videos for, you know, Coles and all sorts of stuff. And he's in the middle of shooting, kind of prepping to shoot this commercial for Coles.
Right.
And I said, "A, you're not out of a job anytime soon. It's a fantastic demo, but to get from that to you can produce a commercial with actors speaking and controlling the set and, you know, controlling the sound, and, you know, we are at least 5 years away, maybe longer. But more importantly, I said, you need to not reject it, embrace it as hard and as fast as you can, and do whatever you can to become the AI enhanced director. Be that guy." And amazingly, he went away, called me back probably a month later, and he'd gone back in to the client, and he'd pitched essentially, "I'm your 10x director. I can go faster than anybody else, and here's what I can do, and here's what it looks like." And so what he actually did was used AI text to video to produce all the bits that were really hard to shoot, and to make it rainy on that day, and to shoot it was tomato farmers, you know, out in the middle of nowhere. And he actually generated tons and tons and tons of footage. What this supermarket chain did was say, because of the technology, they're going to individualize for every area in Australia. And so he's going to be producing 114 commercials, not one, and is super happy and super excited about the future. And he's gone from fear to joy in, you know, one change of attitude. And I thought that was a good way to think about how AI is going to affect our future, and how you can embrace it.
I think if we bring it down to, or back to just one word for both a contingent worker perspective and a potential employer perspective, it's opportunity. That AI brings with it opportunity. So, hey guys, Marty and Adrian, thanks so much for joining us today. And if anyone wants to learn a bit more and maybe even get you to come and talk to them at their business, Evolved.AI. Reach out to either man. I'm sure that they'll love to have a chat with you, and, you know, they can talk AI all day long. But thank you for joining us today. And we'll definitely be keeping an eye on this, and I'm sure we'll tap you on the shoulder and ask you to come back even in, you know, 6 months, 12 months time, because there'll be so many more new updates. So thank you for joining us today on Flexing Up, and we'll see you all again very, very soon.